Hey, and welcome. The world is wild out there. There are lots of very obvious reasons for it. Today, I want to talk about some reasons that may not be as obvious. And that is there's so many people right now that is operating purely on their patterns and programs. There's so many of us out here operating on our patterns and programs. And when those patterns and programs are coming from a place that is unexamined, when those patterns and programs are coming from a place of just something that was built in and baked in throughout childhood and not, chiseled or rubbed or smoothed or shifted away in a particular manner, this is a part of what you get. So when it comes to our patterns and programs, what I like to what I like to use to just help folks better understand their pattern and program is what I call the intersection. If you want to better understand your patterns and your programs, if you want to better understand what is happening in the back of your mind, what is happening on the darker side of your heart, the shadowed side of your heart, if you want to understand what's happening on the other side of your soul, of your spirit, take a look at the intersection. Explore there. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that in just a moment. So, when I talk patterns and programs, you can think of it like a computer system. The laptop that I'm on right now, there are things that I can very obviously see. But there's also things that I know is happening behind the scenes or beneath the plastic, I would say. There's all kinds of wires that's running in there, right? There's all kinds of gadgets and gizmos. No idea how to build a laptop. So I'm gonna stop with that part of the metaphor right there. But what I also know is on this laptop and on your phone that you're watching this on, or your computer that you're watching this on, the tablet that you're watching it on, is something that is behind the scenes. There is a program that is running within the machine you are viewing this on. That program does not have to pause and think for it takes something from here to there to there to there. It doesn't have to pause and think. It's automatically been locked in that when this happens or when this is activated and triggered, we go here, 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 and here. That's a part of what keeps our devices running smoothly, right? It doesn't have to, I don't have to give it permission to for every single thing that it's doing within the exchange. There's probably tens or hundreds or thousands of things happening every time you push one button, every time you make one phone call, every time you open up an internet browser, every time you open a document. There's all kinds of things zipping and zapping behind the scenes. We are the same way. There's all kinds of things that's zipping and zapping behind the scenes of who we are. It's comprised of what we've experienced. It's comprised of what we haven't experienced. It's comprised of, the way that we make sense of things and our perspective. It's comprised of the relationships that we have internally and externally. Our patterns and programs are comprised of ancestral information. It's comprised of community information. It's comprised of what we have grown up within our family or grown up without within our family. Our patterns and programs is like this really, really busy paella of stuff that's been thrown into the pot. Those are our patterns and programs. And oftentimes, many of those patterns and programs are subconscious and or in the part of our awareness that is not existent. There are some patterns and programs that we can recognize, though. I'm certain that if you were listening to this video, you are probably a person that can recognize a few different patterns and programs in your life. You may recognize certain patterns when it comes to your emotions. You may recognize certain patterns and programs when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your work history or, manner of working. You may notice patterns and programs when it comes to your cycles, when it comes to how you interact with the world, when it comes to your energy, right? We can recognize our patterns and programs in some very specific ways. And there's still all these other things that's happening behind the scenes that we don't have to give thought to. It's in the same way that we breathe. We do not have to sit here and tell our lungs to expand and our diaphragm to drop and our belly to expand, right? We don't have to walk ourselves through breathing, it's just happening. We don't have to walk our heart through beating, it's just happening. That's our patterns and programs that I want to talk a little bit about today. So, when you're trying to deepen into those parts of the patterns and programs that you are not familiar with, those questions that you have, the confusion that you have of why do I keep getting this situation? Why does this thing always happen to me? Why does this thing never happen to me? Never mind all the absolutes within those sentences, right? When you are trying to deepen into understanding the patterns and programs that's impacting your life, you want to look at the intersection. That is a beautiful and a very concrete place to start for folks who need that support. The intersection is what I call where our emotions, motivations, expectations, and protective patterns, where they all meet. That's what I call the intersection. Our emotions, our motivations, our protective patterns, and our expectations. When you are trying to deepen into a pattern or a program that you have, when you're trying to increase what you know about yourself and what may be happening behind the scenes, look at those four places. Just take a moment and that thing that you feel confused about, pick one of those four. If you can identify an emotion there, right? You have confused, so that may be a good place to start. If you can identify in that place that you're confused, maybe confused doesn't quite seem to fit with emotions, but you know what you're expecting, start with expectations. Maybe you don't know, like you're confused, you're not quite sure of what you expect in those circumstances, but you know when you experience that thing, that the way that you protect yourself is to pull away, is to shut down, is to lash out. Then start with protective pattern. Maybe you don't know how you're feeling really because confused doesn't quite hit it. Maybe you don't know exactly what you expect in those circumstances. Maybe you haven't fully connected that the way that you protect yourself when that comes up is by shutting down or lashing out or intellectualizing. But maybe what you're able to do is identify the motivation. Maybe when you feel confused, you're able to identify that you feel motivated to find something out, or you feel motivated to go and do something that you know how to do. The intersection is a really beautiful spot to have a tangible, digestible place to deepen into yourself. You can think of a certain situation, or you can think of an overall pattern, even that maybe you're aware of. So think about what happens for you within romantic relationships, or think about what happens for you within your platonic romantic relationships. Okay. Spend some time with just kind of picking something and putting it in that intersection and playing with how am I feeling here? What's motivating me here? How am I protecting myself here? And what are my expectations within this? With any circumstance, even with any feeling, right? So maybe you can't connect it to a particular situation, but you keep experiencing anger. You keep experiencing sadness, hurt. You keep experiencing joy. Plug an emotion in there and see if there are certain motivations that's tied to that, certain expectations that's tied to that, and certain protective patterns that's tied to it. A part of the dumpster fire that folks are experiencing is all these patterns and programs that's just kind of operating and in some ways crumbling. And we panic when our operating system starts to crash. Take some time to review your intersection so that you can be more aware of your patterns and programs that are operating within this world.